Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 110 of A Year of Change. Well, the day we have been waiting for a very, very long time has finally arrived. Video games that make you lose weight. They don't really exist. But, something happened earlier on. Well, it's actually a fairly, not exactly old. It's a couple of weeks old. The results came out a couple of weeks ago. But there are a couple of researchers in the University of Exeter and the University of Cardiff who did an experiment with video games and eating. And the main reason why I'm bringing this up, it isn't something that, you play the video game and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm good. I don't need to diet. I don't need to lose weight. Everything's fine. What they did is, I'm trying to figure out how to present this. All right. Start over. Basically, the reason why I'm bringing this up is not that there's, a miracle cure. We've all talked about that before. Doesn't exist. But just sort of how little changes in your psychology can actually influence your behavior. And it's sort of the basis of what we've been doing here. Just making little changes every now and then and trying to change the way that we react to food and things like that. And this sort of lends itself to that. So what they basically did, they had this game where the purpose of it was to basically, it's just like a point and click game. Something would flash on the screen and you hit a button. And what they would say is, okay, when the border around it is bold, then you have to avoid hitting it. That's all it is, just avoid hitting the button. So they did this. They had people, they had them actually fill out a diary or a journal, I guess like an eating journal, a food diary. There we go. A food diary for a week beforehand and continue on with it, and had them do 10 sessions of these a week. And what they found is that with this game, that there were two groups. There was the control group, which basically they saw images flashing on the screen and they would play the game normally. With the test group, what they did was whenever it was bold, not every single time, but any time that like a junk food or chips or cake or something unhealthy came on the screen, then the border would turn bold. Now, it was bold for other things as well, so it's just a matter of avoiding hitting the button when it was bold. And what they found is, in between the two groups, is that the people that had it synchronized so that the junk food would show up in bold as well, lost more weight than the control group over the course of a week. They ended up losing about 1.5 pounds, somewhere around there. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but they also averaged out that they were eating about 200 calories less a day. Now, this isn't something saying, well, when you play this game, then all of a sudden you start losing weight. What it was, because I assume it was like a double-blind test, no one knew what they were doing. It wouldn't be double-blind, no, that would be stupid. The test subjects didn't know what they were actually testing. So what they did was they were just playing the game, and throughout the process, they did this, I think, what was it, four times a week for 10 minutes each. And what they would find is that because you're sort of triggered into that pattern again of avoiding the bold, but your brain also associates that with avoiding the junk food. They found that these same people didn't enjoy junk food as much as they had the week before, which there's a whole lot of stuff that happened in a very short span of time. Now, admittedly, this is a very, very small sample size. I think it was 42 people that they used. So it's a very, very small sample, and obviously just 1 week running. So it's not something that they're going to say, oh, this is the new thing that we're going to start championing. Why am I sweaty and gross? Ugh. Sorry. It's very warm in here. I didn't have my air conditioner on all day and all night, and it's very warm. So, the researchers are saying, no, this doesn't really point to anything except that just that correlation between the people that were playing the game and an obvious deficit in the calories that they were taking in warrants looking into further. It was interesting, I guess is probably the best way to put it, is just to say, you know what, this doesn't prove anything, it doesn't suggest anything, but it's interesting enough that we should take a closer look at it. So they're going to start looking at it a little bit deeper. I think it's interesting because in just a very short span of time, and I understand that 20 people over a week is not a scientific study, but the fact that there was a difference there between what they did before and then they played the game and what they did after is interesting. Because, as I say, it's sort of what we've been doing here. We've been just week by week making little tiny changes here and there and making them very manageable so that we break out of that cycle that we've been in for so long. And for me, it's overeating. I actually eat very healthily. I eat very healthily. My problem is the overeating. And every now and then I start sneaking back in there, but in general, I'm better than I was. I don't eat to the point where I want to throw up. So that's good. For some of you out there, it may be sweets, like cookies and cakes and candies and all the other good stuff that you need to sort of work on that. For some of you, it's going to be salt, which is sort of mine as well. Like chips and fries and anything salty. For some of you, it's going to be greasy stuff like nachos and pizza and everything else, which would be really, really good right now. But we won't get into that. So just each week we've been making little tiny changes to try to break out of that so that you'll be able to go somewhere where they have the one thing that you can't turn away from and maybe give you that little bit of an extra boost in willpower to say, no, I'm not going to indulge, or if I do have some, I'm going to stay below my calories, even if I have 5 of these. Little tiny changes. And just altering the way that we react to food and how we view it and how we treat it and how we sort of behave around it. It just sort of, it seemed like it meshed with this really, really well. Because although they're sitting there going, okay, I need to not press a button, need to avoid hitting stuff, subconsciously their brain is saying, okay, well, you've avoided, on top of other things like jean jackets and Bic pens, you've also avoided a whole slew of junk food. And they would have healthy food on there as well, and they could click that. So their brain made that little connection. And as small and insignificant as it may be, it obviously made a difference. Now, 200 calories a day is not a lot. I suppose if you're averaging between 12 and 1,500 calories, it is. Generally, I think it's probably closer to 2,000. I don't actually know if they measured their caloric intake beforehand. Well, they obviously measured it before because they had to have something to compare it to, but I don't think they mentioned it in the study that I read. Anyway, I'll put a couple of links down below for the different places that I found this information. Plus, I actually found a site where you can go and actually play the game. So it'll give you a much better idea as to what I'm talking about after you run through it once or twice and you go, oh, that's what he meant, because he didn't explain it very well because he's a twat. So go up, take a look at it. I don't think it's one of those things that it's going to say, okay, well, don't forget to play your game this week because this way we're going to lose an extra pound. I just think it's really interesting that this did happen. There was that connection somewhere, to me anyway. I understand to them they're saying, no, it's interesting, but that's about as far as they're willing to go at this point. They aren't saying that there's it's connected or that it does anything. And they've been very careful by saying this doesn't replace an exercise program. It doesn't replace eating healthy. You can't just sit and play this every day and then think, oh, well, I'm going to lose weight. It's ridiculous. You obviously can't think that, which is true. But there are people out there that would say, I don't understand. I'm sitting and I'm playing this for 12 hours a day while I'm eating and it's not doing anything. Well, you're eating cake and cookies and all the other good stuff at the same time. So, of course, it's not going to work. Anyway. But I just thought it was something that was really interesting, that something so small and insignificant and something that you don't even really register when you're playing can have that much of an impact. And again, 200 calories may not sound like a lot, especially for where we're just sort of starting out for some of us. 200 calories is like, right, that's 2 apples or 3 apples. But if you're cutting back on that every single day and not really realizing it, you're also avoiding some more of the junk food sort of things because there's that little connection in your brain saying you don't want to do that. That does say something. And I think it's very, very promising. It's something they could look into. Not that it's going to be something that's going to replace bariatric surgery or exercising and dieting properly, but just something that, it could sort of go hand in hand and help things along, especially if you're sort of starting out and thinking, this is what I need to do. I don't know how effective it would be now that you know what it does. Now that I think about it, I'm thinking that part of the success of it was that it was subconscious. But if you're constantly? No, that's not the word I'm looking for. If you're consciously going in and avoiding everything and it's registering saying, no, it's junk food, I need to avoid that, and that, and that. I don't know how much of an effect it would actually have. It might be interesting to look at. But not for me, for them. So I'm sure that as they progress with this, that's probably something that they're going to look at and say, okay, what's the efficacy of it? The effectiveness, it's a sciencey word. Efficacy, for those of you out there, means how effective it is. Which I think I just explained twice. Anyway, to look at, how it progresses when people are aware of what they're doing, or when they're doing this blind test like they did last time, and holy shit, it's warm in here. Yeah. I don't know if my head's all shiny or not. If it is, I'm sorry, but it's kind of gross. Yuck. It's really, really warm. This is what happens when you are gone all day and then you fail to notice anything when you come home, and then you have everything off. You normally have an air conditioner going through and everything is nice and cool, but it's really, really hot and really, really muggy. So I'm going to probably end this video soon because I don't want to sit in swamp ass for the rest of the video. But I will, as I say, I will put some descriptions down below, some links, in the description down below, showing where you can go to read up a little bit more on this, as well as the link to the game itself. And so just so you can go in, take a look at it, play through it. It asks for your email and your age and your height and weight and all the other good stuff. I think it does that so that it'll say, okay, we need to put in a whole lot of junk food for these people. As opposed to if I was a normal size, they would say, okay, well, sort of half and half. But yeah, you can put all your information in there and just sort of start flipping through, and you just hit one button for one side and one button for the other side, and if it's bold, you don't hit anything. And it was interesting. I'd like to sort of try it myself, even though I know what's going on, but I don't know how effective it would be, as I say, because I know what the goal is of it. So, and so do you now. So I don't know how much it's going to help. But you never know. Keep an eye out for it. The more news that comes in about it, you can take a look, and hopefully they're going to sort of pursue this and see where this goes. Because even if it isn't just the video game itself, if it's something that they can say, a very small connection like that can help, then, they may be able to develop other things that are going to not necessarily get people so that they stop overeating or stop eating shitty food, but something that they can make that connection so that it's just something that may help them avoid that or give them that little extra boost, like a +1 to your will save. So that you can have that little bit of an extra push and sort of a little bit of a subconscious support system, which I think would be really, really good. But anyway, I'm getting very hot and sweaty and gross, so I'm going to end this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. In the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.